Well, hello, Viola Case players. Let's explore more of the Viola Case. Are you ready? So now we're moving on to page 5 and more bowing exercises. We have a couple of things I want to show you today before we use our bow. And two symbols, the square that points down and the V that points up. The square that points down is called a down bow. Let me get this adjusted a little bit better. So the square that points down is a down bow, and basically for viola and violin players, it means that you're going to pull your arm down if you go down bow, and the V pointing up is to point the bow toward the ceiling. So this is down and this is up. And if you look at your music over here, we have 4/4 time, your C clef or alto clef sign. Then we have a down bow, up bow on an A string, and we're gonna go I'm sorry. Okay, ragweed's in the air. It's October here, and ragweed in Texas stays forever. I'm not sick, sorry. Woo! Okay, A, then D, 2 Ds, down bow and an up bow, 2 Gs, down bow and up bow, down bow and up bow. And then these are whole notes. So they get 4 counts, as we learned from our pyramid page. And if we set a very slow quarter note beat of like 1, 2, 3, 4, what I'm going to show you first of all is a long bow. And I know some teachers start with short bows and then go long, but I think as players, sometimes when I get kids in the shop, their thing is to take their bow and go really fast. But I think if we slow down a little bit from the very beginning, you're going to learn a better tone overall. So set up that position. Remember, sitting with your feet flat on the floor, straight, neutral position with everything relaxed. Turn your arm, set it on your shoulder, take a little bite with your chin. Make sure that you're not tipping or leaning. Instrument's not in front of you or off to the side of you too far. It's right as if an arm, if your arm was laying at the side of your body and just came up, that's where you want your instrument to be. This is just as neutral and as ergonomically correct as you can be on these instruments. There we go. Okay, so bow, hold. We did a lot of that last time. And remember, you don't hold the bow. Your violin or viola holds the bow, and your arm will pull it back and forth. Today, we are going to talk about just setting the bow on the string, and then any string changes that we do, we're going to roll the bow. We're not picking it up at all. And you're going to just go back and forth. But I want to show you what you have to do with your arm, because if we just use our shoulder and go like this, we're going to get what's a really crooked bow that goes from here to here. And we want the stick of the bow to be parallel with the bridge. So it actually pulls along the same distance from the bridge all the way from the tip to the frog. In order to get that to happen, the bottom part of the bow from the frog to about the middle of the bow is your upper arm. So your upper arm moves. I'm going to set it on the A string. Relax. Relax your bow hold. Make sure your fingers are attached and everything's round and you're not grabbing it. It's just as round and relaxed as it can be. Set everything on, relax again, pull, and your upper shoulder is going to move first. Then about halfway down, your elbow is going to take over and your upper arm stays. So So you have two separate things with your bow. So shoulder, elbow. Shoulder, elbow, sorry, and shoulder. And if you want to play where you kind of do a little ghost bow pull along the top of your bridge, it won't make a sound, but you can see if you're doing that right. And the only way to get that straight bow pull is to just like kind of practice it. So your upper arm, then your elbow takes over. And that will give you a much more clearer tone than if you're just going like this, which is what kids usually do. Now, the other part of this is we're going to learn string planes, P-L-A-N, planes, not playings or plans, but this is your A string. And if I move my bow ever so slightly one direction or the other, you're going to tick the other string. So that comes from your shoulder raising, or if you want to call it your elbow raising. Every time you click your elbow up, you're on a different string. And so the work this week is going to be to do these long bows, not ticking the other strings. The story that I tell is if you have brothers and sisters, your strings are brothers and sisters. If it's their time in the music, if it says A and you're supposed to be playing A and you tick that D string, the A string gets jealous. Just like you would get jealous if, hey, it's my birthday. Why are you getting a present, little brother or sister, or older brother or sister, when it's your birthday? So the shining light in your music is on the A string, so you don't want to tick the D string. If you're on the D string, you don't want to tick the A string or the G string, because they get jealous of each other. So set up your position, and I am a little congested today. So talking is making my voice want to. So set your bow on the string somewhere maybe a few inches away from your frog, and we're going to count out 4 counts and do the bow as calmly as you can all the way from the frog to the tip, and as parallel to the bridge as you can be, and about maybe an inch to a half inch away from the bridge. This is your ideal playing spot, and when you're just starting out with the bow, you're not going to worry too much about the bow being. I want you to keep it in that sweet spot for now. Later on, as you learn more about your instrument, you'll learn that you can get closer to the bridge or a little farther away for the bridge, or use more hair or less hair in order to get different sounds to come out of your instrument, or different tone. Wow, and I'm having a hard time with my shoulder rest today. It seems like it keeps sliding. There we go, that's better. Okay, so set the bow on the string, and we're going to pull that A down bow. 2, 3, 4, now up bow. 2, 3. Now the next measure, you're just going to raise, don't lift the bow off the string, you're just going to raise your elbow to the D string and go down bow. 2, 3, 4, and up bow. Now I don't anticipate that you will sound that smooth, but maybe you will. That would be awesome. That would mean that you have kind of an intuitive way of doing this, but you're going to need to do this as an exercise. And I want you to look at your music, say A, play A. And then turn around and come this way. Don't lift the bow. Then roll down to the D string. And if you're like this, or you get this, then you just need to relax. Try again. Think about being a scientist, and you're doing an experiment, and you have to experiment a little bit with the weight of your arm, with how fast you're pulling the bow, with going from frog to tip and getting your upper arm and your elbow moving. It takes practice and some time, but you don't have to think about anything else but looking at your bow and kind of going from the A string level to the D string level to the G string level to the C string level by raising your elbow up. And so then when you get down to the G, C, then you do the same thing, but you have to do something a little bit different with your arm to get it parallel to that bridge. Sorry. Oh, and it could be the rosin. I am very allergic to rosin. So I use a non-powder rosin called Moxie rosin, and we actually make this here in the shop with stuff that is locally sourced in Texas. We have some acreage out in Smithville that has loblolly pines on it, and this is a non-powder. It doesn't powder up, so I love this rosin. It's called Moxie rosin, and if you find your bow is kind of slick on the string, you want to rosin your bow. I won't show you that today because we're just starting on the bow, but so getting your position, setting your bow on the string, and doing open strings. I sound sick, but I'm not. It's definitely allergies. But man, during the pandemic, it's hard to know, right? So 4 beats here for all of these 2 measures, and then you're going to come down here and do 2 beats per measure, 2 A's, down, up again, down, up again. Often you won't have your down bow, up bow marked. You just, once you get it established, you just go back and forth. And then down here in the last line, you go quarter notes. So if you can imagine that you do full bow on the whole notes, then you'll do a half bow on the half notes and a quarter of the bow on the quarter notes. So let's try that last line at measure 25 and try just the quarter notes. So again, every time I want you to set up your position, make sure you can hold it with your chin and your shoulder, let your left hand be here for now. Set the bow on the string and don't start until the wiggle goes out of your bow. Every time that you put the bow on the string, you're going to get a little bit of a tick-a-tick-a-do. And you don't want to go. You don't want to do that. Set, play. So A, measure 25, quarter notes this time. So we're just going to set it on the bow and go. And this will be pretty much kind of just your elbow moving. So if you were up here, it would be upper arm moving. That's a lot of work. So I'm just going to go past to where the upper arm doesn't have to move anymore. And this will be just your elbow. So we'll go A, lift to the D string, and elbow up to the G string, and G. And if you notice that you tick other strings, come back and do those again, because you don't have that bow level for each string quite yet. So A, G, whoops, and I ticked that, I went too far and went to the C string, so then I come back and do that again. And slow down, be careful. And sometimes on the C string, you have to give it a little bit more weight to hold that whole string, so if you get that sound, then you don't have the whole string vibrating, and you just have to give it a little bit more nudge to get the whole thing going. Whoops. See, and any kind of motion of your elbow is going to put you onto a different string. And there's only like a little bit of a, not even an inch of motion of your elbow puts you onto the next string, so. And then by the end of the week with these 4 lines, I want you to be really careful and good about string level on your arm over here, and using upper arm to the elbow being parallel to the bridge and getting a really good tone. You only have to think about open strings. You don't have to think about anything else but your bow this week. Check your bow hold every time you put your instrument under your chin now. I want you to check that. Bow set on the string, check your hand position. Make sure your finger's up on top of the stick, spine. Make sure that your thumb is round, not like a banana. Make sure you're not grabbing the bow. And make sure none of these joints are, you don't want to be up like this. You want that to be rested, just like if you were sitting on the edge of a wall and your legs were bent over the edge of a straight wall. And then little finger goes up on top in order to get that angle. And use just a flat bow. We're not going to talk about tipping the bow one way or tipping the bow now. Right now I want you to just use flat hair and just get straight on the string and get your elbow level and your actual bow pull parallel to that bridge. That's your goal for this week. Man, stay healthy and don't breathe the air, I guess. I don't know. There is there's ragweed, and then there's another weed that comes out right after ragweed in October, and then we have cedar here, so I may have some allergies just for a couple of months. So I apologize for the coughing, but I hope you're all doing well, and have a great week. Spend some good time on the bow, and I'll see you next time.